Yes, ma'am. Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. If you're watching this, that means that I survived the Boley Rodeo. Actually, I'm recording this after the rodeo, so spoiler alert, I actually survived, but man, all I can say is the Boley Rodeo is not for the weak, but I'm going to give you some tips and pointers so that you can survive the Boley Rodeo and have a better experience than I did. The rodeo ended about 12 hours ago, and me and my friend, like we just keep touching base like, man, the rodeo really whooped our motherfucking ass. Like the Boley Rodeo whooped our ass. Boley Rodeo 100, us 0, okay? We're talking about blisters, blisters, sore toes, blisters. Cause those cowboy boots, one thing, if you don't know, cowboy boots are murder on your pinky toe. It's like your pinky toe is just sitting like this, like throwing gang signs for hours, and you're walking on dirt road, rocks, in our case, mud. The Boley Rodeo was an experience and adventure, but it was definitely worthwhile. So let me just stop focusing on the negative and get back to the positive. So of course, Boley, Oklahoma is a historically Black town in Oklahoma. I am not doing a deep dive in Oklahoma Black history or the history of Boley or anything like that in this video. There's so much information out there that anyone could research if you would like to know more. But Boley was a very prosperous town with a beautiful, rich history of wealth and community and more, you know, academia and so much more. I would highly encourage anyone watching this to do more research about Oklahoma. Personally, one of my huge concerns about moving to Oklahoma is that I just didn't know much about a Black or African American presence in Oklahoma, and I was getting some negative information and stories. And since I've actually come to Oklahoma and began meeting people and doing more research and just learning more, come to find out Oklahoma has just this really amazing history as far as the African American community is concerned and their contributions. I know there are a lot of names and labels that we give, and so I'm not trying to box anyone in by saying African American. I'm just using that term kind of loosely right now to cover a very large group of people. I don't even want to say the diaspora, right? Because everyone didn't necessarily come from Africa to get here. Okay, now I'm getting off on a whole tangent that I said I was not going to get into. So anyway, yes, Boley was a historically Black, in air quotes, town. It was one of 50 plus Black towns here in Oklahoma. Of those 50 plus Black towns, now only 13 remain, and Boley is one of them. Boley is the home to the oldest rodeo, and the materials, the information that I read, it was the oldest rodeo, not the oldest Black rodeo, not the oldest Indigenous, Native, Hispanic, white, whatever, just the oldest rodeo period in Oklahoma. So I am open to corrections if that is incorrect, but I know I read that and I read it and reread it, you know, multiple times before stating it here. I think that is really beautiful. And I was very excited to come to the Boley Rodeo just based on so many recommendations that I've gotten through comments, video comments, and people that I've met here and things like that. So yeah, it was an amazing experience. It was a little bit trying, but I think even reflecting on that now, that was a gift as well, to even be able to be in Boley and have those minor complaints, like, you know, issues with cell phone service and things like that. It was still a blessing. Y'all, I still haven't unpacked fully from the rodeo. I'm seeing like junk and random stuff behind me, and I'm like in the process of getting ready to travel again. So, and I just want to get this video to you guys. So please just disregard anything crazy in the background. I do apologize for that. But yeah, the Boley Rodeo, my first impression is it felt like a huge family reunion. Like literally, I think that's what it was, right? Because even as we were driving into town, like as we were getting closer to Boley and entering Boley, you just saw these homes, you know, set off from the road, or small clusters of homes, right? And there had to be like, I don't know, 20 to 100 cars, you know, in the driveway and parks all around, and people were cooking out, and it was just family, like massive family reunions. So I already knew that people in Oklahoma tend to have bigger families, but that really was apparent in Boley, because like the cousins' cousins and the cousins' cousins, like Outkast said, mama's mamas and mama's mama's mamas, everybody was there coming out to the rodeo. Of course, as I've seen so much in Oklahoma already, and I've talked about in multiple videos, even though this was an event labeled, you know, a black rodeo or the Boley Black Rodeo, everyone, absolutely everyone in Oklahoma and surrounding areas apparently came out, of all skin colors, complexions, races, creeds, and colors, right? Everyone was there. I actually saw this guy and I wanted to stop him and ask him if I could just record his outfit, because he was decked out. He had the coolest cowboy hat I've ever seen in my life. It was like a brown leather cowboy hat, right? But then it had all of these, I don't know what the correct term is, and I don't mean any disrespect here if I say the wrong thing, right? But it was like hieroglyphs or symbols, just images, right? So there was like the sun was on it. It was just like very intricately designed in the leather. It was beautiful. Like it was just so amazing. And somehow I was like turning to ask him, and someone else came up and talked to him, and the person I was with had like gone off, had walked far ahead and everything. And I was like, you know, I missed that opportunity. But yeah, there were so many amazing, just beautiful, beautiful people there at the rodeo. So there's some great people watching and so much culture to absorb. You saw people on all types of vehicles, right? Whether it was ATVs, UTVs, horses. Did I see a donkey? We saw a donkey on the way there. I don't think anyone rode or carried a donkey. Oh my gosh. Plenty of dancing, line dancing, food. I have PTSD. I have fan clack PTSD. I don't need to hear a fan clacking for 3 to 6 months after this. And summer is already here, so I'm going to be hearing it. That roll it, roll it, roll it, baby. I don't want to hear boots on the ground again for 6 months to a year. Please, no more boots on the ground. Speaking of boots on the grounds, one of the things that made the Boley Rodeo so challenging for us was the mud. So it had rained a lot in the past, like several days leading up to the rodeo. And it was funny because we were watching the forecast, me and my friends, right? We're watching the forecast like, oh my God, I hope it doesn't rain. I hope it doesn't rain, like literally for the rodeo. Completely ignoring the fact that it had been raining for days. And I remember seeing someone had posted on Facebook, like, ha ha ha, the weatherman always calls for rain during the Boley Rodeo, but it never happens. And it had like, there was likes and comments on that. And I was like reassured, because back home where I'm from, they have the fair. There's a fair every year in July, and it's the same thing where everyone kind of laughs and says, we know the fair is going to happen. The weatherman always calls for rain and it never rains. So I was like, okay, this is the same type of thing is happening. So while it didn't rain during the actual rodeo itself, it had rained so much and there was so much mud, like R.I.P to my boots, R.I.P to multiple people's boots. Yeah, but a lot of people didn't seem to care. Like, I think people were enjoying the mud. Let's just put it like that, right? They were just sliding through the mud and everything. And meanwhile, me and my friend are like, what is happening? Our boots are destroyed. But I also had on like fashion boots. I didn't wear really expensive boots out there. Coming from Tulsa to Boley, it was a little over an hour. I would say maybe an hour and a half drive there. So on the way out to Boley, we took the highway. So there are some tolls that you are going to have to pay. I think my friend said it was around like $10 each, $10 one way coming from Tulsa to Boley for the toll. So that's not too expensive. It's not horrible. The one thing about taking that route though is you're primarily on the highway. And so we didn't really have too much of a good idea of like what was around locally in the area. It turns out there wasn't too much around locally around Boley either. Like a funny moment that happened when we actually got to the rodeo and we realized there's very limited parking and we were going to leave and come back. I was like, well, just leave the car here and I'll get us a lift to come back. Bruh, I seriously doubt there are any lifts out there in that area. Like it is very, very rural. In Boley itself and like surrounding Boley. When I say very, very rural, like we came through some towns that looked like the Wild West, right? Like those old Western, movies, Yosemite Sam is chasing Bugs Bunny through this place, and it's like these buildings that are just, you know, the Wild West. Yeah, they look like Wild West towns that you're driving through. The newest probably building in those towns is either the church or the multiple churches that they have there, because it seems like every place they had more churches than anything. It seemed like they had more churches than people, some of these towns that you ride through on the way to Boley. But they would have like a Dollar General, a Family Dollar, and that was about it. Not even about it, that was it, right? Just something to keep in mind in terms of like gas, things to do, transportation and things like that. So you want to make sure, right, that you have reliable transportation. You want to make sure that you are comfortable with driving on those country roads. If you're spending the night in Boley like we did, there's absolutely no light out there. There's no street lights or anything. You're just in the dark with your high beams on two-lane roads, primarily with no shoulder sometimes, or very steep drops and what do you call them? I'm always talking with my hands. I'm gonna have to put it on the screen. You guys know what I mean. Ditches. There's like deep ditches on the side of the road, and there's nothing out there. There's no one out there. It's just wildlife. We saw all kinds of interesting wildlife as well. I saw my first armadillo as we were getting ready to take our first long walk towards the town of Boley. We had to park like on the side of the highway, on the side of the road, and walk quite a ways to get into Boley. Yeah, I saw my first armadillo. It was crushed, unfortunately, and smushed. But I saw another, like a living one after that. So I thought that was so cool, because I've been, I don't know, fascinated by armadillos. And I am pretty sure my friend and I saw coyotes. We were driving at night. It's pitch black out there. There's absolutely no lights, but I saw these like glowing eyes in the dark, right? And it was like two animals. I'm like, I don't think those were dogs. But then we came up onto another area and we were parking, and some crossed, and we're like, those definitely had to be coyotes. So there is definitely like some wildlife, and the type of wildlife that you do not see in Tulsa for sure. Even though I had gotten some warnings, I did a whole video about that, right? Of like being afraid of people saying that coyotes sometimes wander into Tulsa and all of these different kind of like wildlife. But you definitely will see that out in rural Oklahoma, because I know we did. Also, just being in that area and all those wide open green spaces got me thinking about history, and just thinking about how the bison, I'm sure, probably used to roam in those areas. Getting to Boley and arriving in Boley, it is very much rural Oklahoma. When we arrived in Boley, there was problems with our cell phone service at different carriers, right? So it wasn't an issue of different carriers. Even as we got there, like I saw some woman was trying to find her friend or her family, and she was kind of hysterical, like, my phone, she's with the cops, she's like, my phone's not working. And the police are like, yeah, welcome to Boley. You know what I mean? I don't think they even had communication or could help her with that. They're like, you're just gonna have to find this person, like walk until you find them. Speaking of walking until you find them, again, this is rural Oklahoma. There were plenty of dirt roads. We were walking sometimes on dirt roads with like stones and tearing our feet right on up. Yeah, so make sure also that you bring cash. There was some parking where they were charging like $20, $25 different places to park, like right in that main street or main strip of Boley. And that was where I had that bright idea, thinking that we were gonna like park there, catch a lift, and be zipping all around. This is not the city. This is not that, right? If anything, I don't know, maybe someone would have got us. We would have jumped on the back of a scooter or somebody's horse or something. Not to mention, I'm afraid of horses. I don't know how that would have ever happened. Just having your mind that you're going to be driving your car the whole time. This is if you're not a local, right? Because I did see people who came, drove up, right? They had their ATV on the back. They jumped on, parked their truck on the side of the highway, jumped on that, or jumped on a horse, different things, took their motorcycle. So it's like, no matter of, I think, what you're doing at the rodeo, how long you're planning on staying, what events you're going to, and things like that. But you may need to have some alternate transportation or plans for that. Bring cash. We're trying to buy something and the lady took Cash App, but we couldn't connect. No one was getting a signal, right? Like my phone was on SOS. My friend was like getting a signal intermittently. The lady couldn't receive. So that was a wash, right? So we had to just go and come back later with cash. I did not see any ATMs there. If anyone knows, feel free to chime in the comments if there are ATMs available in Boley. There was one point where we left and we drove like 20, 30 minutes to get to a Dollar General. I wish that we had gotten snacks there, food, but I would say, if you're coming from outside of Boley, man, do that like, back in the day. family road trips, when your parents packed sandwiches, cooler and things like that. Like, you need a whole survival kit going to Boley because there's not so many options. Be prepared to know that your phone may not work. Keep your group together. If you're traveling with 4, 5, 6 people, be prepared that you may lose, you may lose some people along the way, or maybe even have a plan of, hey, we're going to meet here at 3, we're going to meet here at 5, whatever the case may be, like before you go, because the cell phone service was very patchy. Not even patchy, it was non-existent. As far as amenities around, there's just not so many amenities there. Like, this is a very, very country, very rural area. I mean, even the homes are really spaced out, right? Where there's like at least a mile or more between each house, and cows out there in the field and things like that. If you're taking medications, if you have any type of special needs and things like that. Speaking of special needs, I don't think that this is very much handicap accessible or special needs accessible. Now, I did see a couple people who were out, riding on like motorized scooters, motorized wheelchairs and things like that, but they were also limited as far as where they could go, right? There's just some areas where it wasn't paved at all. You're walking on dirt roads. And I did see, some elders who were out there who fortunately had people assisting them, but it looked like they were having kind of a hard way to go with canes and walkers and things like that. The few people that I did see just, trying to hold on to someone's arm, and much respect to them for being that committed and wanting to see the rodeo itself. And it was more so when you got into the rodeo grounds. But the area where the parade happens and the car show happened and things like that is definitely accessible. But I think if someone was really insisting, really wanted to go to the rodeo, I didn't see that. I didn't see anything accessible. Like, there's metal bleachers there, but there was no ramp that I saw or any way to get someone up. I didn't see anyone who was differently abled or handicapped, whatever term you want to use, there watching the rodeo. Kind of unfortunate. So it would be nice if that could be added. If it doesn't exist, I did not see it. I didn't see every nook and cranny of the rodeo, and definitely open to corrections. As far as the transportation too, there were a few carts that were doing $5 rides, like taking people along, because it was very long distances. Like, there was one point we were walking, we probably had walked like 2 miles at that point, and we asked like, how much farther is there to go? And someone said, oh, we have like 2 more miles to walk. Bruh. Like, in my minds, I think I'm this strong, like, Southern woman after living here for 4.75 years in the South, or 5.23, 5.2, it's not even 5.25, right? In my head, I think I'm Cuffy, okay?
They call me Cuffy.
But in reality, woo child. 2 miles walking, another 2 to go, and cowboy boots, and like I said, and they got your toes, your pinky toe, my pinky toe, you dirty dog. You done shot off my pinky toe.
He shot me in my pinky toe. I know, man. I'm gonna put what's left of my foot in your ass. I'm gonna kill it.
Bro, we were suffering and struggling, scuffling and surviving, hanging in a jury, okay? Do you understand?
We lucky we got him.
Anyway, yeah, there were very few carts available to pick people up. There was one time we saw this girl and we like ran. We didn't run. We limped over to the cart like, oh my God, are you the $5 cart? Please. Thank God. I was like, yes. We were trying to get there. I'm like dragging one leg and limping at that point. She was like, oh no, I'm waiting for my family or something. Bro, when I tell you I was close to crying, I was so close to tears at that point. As far as your clothes, recommendation for what to wear and not wear. You will see people in Western clothes and you will see people in like standard American clothes, right? Shorts, sneakers, J's, I don't know, whatever, dunks. Even if it had not rained the way that it did, I know it would have been like very dirty and dusty. So if it had not been the mud that I encountered, it would have been dirty and dust, right? Tons of dust and heat and sun and all of that good stuff. So, and just wear some clothes that you're not terribly concerned about getting messed up. Accommodations, we did not find any, and I personally didn't look. I kind of left it up to my friend to check into this. So again, I'm open to corrections if this is wrong, but we did not find any like Airbnbs or hotels or anything like in Boley or in the immediate vicinity. We ended up staying in Weewaka. Weewaka. And it's like one hotel that's just sitting out in the middle of nowhere. Like there's just a hotel on a hill, you know what I'm saying? Pretty much nothing around it. Well, a gas station across the street. Everything closes pretty early. I don't think there's like as much use or population to support them places staying open past maybe 10 or 11. We did go into a bar that was nearby shortly after 11 p.m. and just immediately got the idea that we probably were not welcome to be there, and we left. Okay, nothing too crazy, but that is something to be aware of as well as strangers to Oklahoma, or if you're coming into Oklahoma for the first time. The actual rodeo itself, it was all love and unity and a big multicultural event for sure. But outside of Boley or just in rural Tulsa, greater rural Tulsa, you might not have that same experience. There was nothing like outwardly dangerous or negative or derogatory that was stated, but we just knew that we weren't welcome there. Now, on the flip side of that, I did have some of the best Mexican food I've had in Oklahoma at this random restaurant that's kind of in the middle of nowhere between Boley and Weewaka. I think the address of the restaurant was Weewaka. And as we were eating it, I was saying to my friend, like, man, is this food really good? Or are we just starving right now? I don't know. The restaurant was called El Cazador Mexican restaurant. Yeah. And it was pretty good. That was actually 30 minutes, maybe 35 minutes from the rodeo grounds. There's plenty of food, you know, there's plenty of vendors and things at the rodeo ground. I think if we had planned a little better and had more of an itinerary, we kind of came out there loosely with an itinerary of like, okay, we're going to go to the rodeo, leave, change clothes, put on our cute rodeo outfits, which we probably should have kept on, like our kind of bummy-ish traveling clothes, right? Instead, and things like that. But Boley Rodeo, it was great. I hope you guys enjoy the video. Will I be back at the Boley Rodeo? I don't know. Right now I'm feeling like it was a one and done experience. And I think I feel that way, obviously, because of some of the negatives, some of the challenges that happened. I'm not even so much worried about like not being able to get a drink at that one bar, because you can encounter things like that anywhere. But I think it was just more so of like the physical exhaustion, the challenges of just all of the walking and everything like that. And maybe the cowboy boots was a factor. So maybe if I do go back to the rodeo, right, I'm going to wear some nice little sneakers instead. But yeah, out here learning, thriving, loving Oklahoma, getting to know it more and more each day. I thank you guys so much for tuning in. As always, I love y'all. Peace.
An American right here from Spencer, Oklahoma. Savion Strike.
It ain't nobody from Spencer out there for real, for real. Spencer in the house.
Come on, I hear you. He's sliding up on that rope. He's gonna turn out his toes, tuck his chin. He's getting him a deep scene and a four-way look. Radio fan, it is no disgrace to book off the back of one of those books. Now, tell me this, how did you like that? Did you see it? Did you get it?